Nations says more than 1.2 million people have fled from Ukraine more than a week since the start of the Russian invasion. Russian forces are now closing in on several major cities. The military has gained control of at least one city, as well as a significant nuclear power plant. Pentagon officials say Russia has fired more than 500 missiles in the 9 days since launching its attack. NATO's Secretary General on Friday said that the coming days are likely to get worse. For more, I want to bring in Ben Solomon. He is an international correspondent for Vice News, and he is in Odessa, Ukraine right now. So, Ben, tell us what the current situation is like on the ground in Odessa, which, for our viewers who might not be as familiar, is located in southern Ukraine near Moldova. Tell us, Ben, what's the mood like there?
So in Odessa, this is a part of the country that's watching the rest of the country, the rest of the attacks in places like Kyiv and places like Kharkiv, and they're kind of waiting for their turn. Behind those two cities, Odessa is the third largest city in this country, and it also has a really strategically important port, both in terms of commerce. It's a port that does a lot of the business with so much of the Black Sea and controls a lot of Ukraine's exports, but it's also a really important port in terms of security. This city kind of splits Moldova from Russia, and the entire border is kind of guided by Odessa's actions. It's kind of the capital of the south in a way. So if the Russian army pushes towards Odessa and takes control of this area, in a way, they kind of control the entire south of the country. So for the people here, they know that eventually these tanks, these fighters, these Russian forces will come to this area. It's just a matter of when they will come. So there's a kind of nervous energy that goes around in the city. There's a lot of people that are kind of waiting for when that actions will come. Some people choose to leave and take buses and get out of town and trains. Other people are kind of hunkering down. We went yesterday to one of the older tourist beaches in the city, where now excavators are kind of digging out the sand to make sandbags so they can make outposts all around the city. They are local car mechanics making things called hedgehogs, which are anti-tank defenses that kind of go up all over. But people are getting ready, but also life kind of goes on. Like a lot of the people that are living here are still going out. There's still, some commerce going on.
They're still going out, Ben, they're going to restaurants and like regular life undeterred?
The essentials. I had somebody that I talked to yesterday that went to the dentist. And I was surprised that they were open. The grocery stores are open. The things that kind of are open are places that people are still trying to get their best kind of quality of life and try to live without the fear of the invasion. But still, it's a looming threat at all times. And people are kind of just living every day with the reality that soon the Russians will be there and the attacks will start.
So you mentioned that Odessa is a critical port city. I want to talk a little bit more about that strategy, because Russian forces have already captured Kherson. They're closing in on Mariupol. Those cities like Odessa are key port cities. Are folks there convinced that eventually the Russian strategy is to overwhelm these ports? And tell us why it's so important for Russia to try and get these wins.
Well, I can't tell you Russia's strategy, only they can. But from what it seems like, the feeling on the ground is that Russia doesn't want just bits and bobs. They want all of Ukraine. I think that the way that the fighting has been going is that a lot of these places that are key places are sort of, the starting of the fighting starts with airstrikes, it starts with bombings, and then it kind of moves to a ground invasion. Why Odessa has so much fear and worry that will happen to them is because Kherson, the city that you just mentioned, is just a couple hours to the east. And the next city before that is already seeing fighting. So Odessa is kind of in a line now of progressions that's coming all the way towards the border. Once they capture Odessa, they control these ports that have so much control of the commerce, so much control of the output of the country. So it stifles both the Ukrainian economy, but also gives them an ability to have fleets of soldiers move up through the south. 8 years ago, they took Crimea after Ukrainians were protesting in the Maidan protests. Since then, it's been a real staging ground for a lot of the military operations for the Russians. Now we're seeing that military fully activated in the south of the country. They've been pushing up, pushing east and north, or west and north. So now these soldiers are all over. They're pushing closer and closer to Odessa, and it's really just a matter of time until they get here.
Ben, as we've been reporting, the war in Ukraine is fueling a new humanitarian crisis. We have seen many migrants heading off to Poland. Can you tell us some of the other places that Ukrainians are seeking refuge, particularly being so close to Moldova? How is that nation responding? And I wonder if you can also tell us about some of the more critical needs for folks in Ukraine right now.
I've covered a handful of conflicts. I've been in some really tough places. Here, it's really uniquely difficult. It's really overwhelmingly difficult. When we came in about 7 or 8 days ago, right after the invasion began, what we saw was thousands and thousands of refugees pushing towards the borders in just a matter of days, and they're still coming more and more each day. So all of these countries that are bordering it, Moldova, Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, Poland, all of these countries are kind of responding in whatever ways they can. But the reality is there's bottlenecks at each one of these points. So there's only so much that these countries and these border crossings can do. When we came in from Poland on the border there, it was a line of cars pushing out of the country from Ukraine to Poland, 30 miles long. And, each day it gets easier as these countries try to adapt to this huge pace of refugees coming. But the refugee crisis is at the likes of something that I've never seen before. Now, for the people inside the country, what we're seeing is gas shortages, food shortages, inability to kind of get around, inability to kind of travel safely. A lot of the roads are really complicated. People traveling in hotels, there's not many rooms. It's just difficult on all fronts to do anything. Logistically, it's just becoming just such a bottleneck at all of these places that everyone here is struggling in ways that I've never seen before.
Ben, given that, and given what you were saying initially about how difficult this situation has been, what you've witnessed, I wonder if you fear for your own safety. Do you think that there will become a time in the near future where you'll feel like you and your team at Vice shouldn't be there anymore?
It's something that we are constantly re-looking into and reconsidering. The security threat here is unlike anything I've really ever covered. I've covered wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. But the reality of the fight here is that we are constantly being more and more surrounded by a force that is really advanced, a fighting force that has technical abilities that are really strong, even though there's problems these days that are becoming apparent. This is a fighting force that really can make things a lot worse than they are right now. So for us as a news crew, as spending our time here, we're constantly making sure we know our escape routes, making sure we know where the bunkers are in the cities that we're working in, making sure we know our best practices for working all around. Things move really fast. I mean, we've only been here since the war began, and since then, so much has changed and so much continues to change. So, of course, safety is our number one concern, and kind of taking our time to reinvestigate and re-understand what's the best way to work here is important. But for us, the story is more and more important. It's the Ukrainian people that we meet, the people that we are dealing with. Their stories are so powerful, and we really are proud to be sharing them and telling them to the rest of the world.
Absolutely. And we appreciate you doing that. And we're hoping for your safety and everyone there. Ben Solomon, thanks.
Thanks.